This tutorial will explain how to create a drawing that you can submit for the train assignment. You're going to create a drawing that has both the assembly and the exploded view on it, and then we are going to put a parts list and balloons to specify which parts are which. So the first step is to use a drawing file. Let's use the template that is in my shared folder. It's called drawing template because it's a little easier to use. The title block is a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to start by bringing in my assembly. It's already open, so that makes it a lot easier, and I've already got it as an isometric in here and saved. Same thing with my exploded view, so that'll make my life a lot easier. I'll go to base, and because they're already open, you should see that you have your assembly and your exploded view here. I'm going to choose the assembly, and the current view should be correct for me. Current view shows you whatever it currently is in and saved as in the part file. I'm going to turn on my shaded view right here, make sure that it's shaded, and then I can just click in here to drop that down. I don't need to project any other views off of it, so I can press escape. And right now I could make this smaller by double clicking on the red box and changing the scale, but I want a bigger paper. This is A size paper, which is your normal 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Let's change it to B size paper, which is 11 by 17. If I right click over here in the browser on sheet, I can edit the sheet. And there's a lot of things I can change here. I can edit where the title block is. I can also change the sheet size, which I will change to B. And that gives me a lot more room to put in the exploded view, which is the same process. I'm going to choose the base, I'll pick my exploded view, and then I have to find the correct orientation, which, because I had saved the part file as an isometric, the current view should be correct for that. And I want to shade this view also, so I want them both to be shaded. And then I'll hit escape. Now I may have to mess around with the sizes a little bit. Looks like they both could be a little bit smaller, so any number smaller than 1 will be a lower scale. I'll change that one to 0.9 and maybe the exploded view to 0.9. Whatever you need to do to make it look good, and use the space that's available to you. Now I want to annotate that exploded view so that it has arrows pointing to each part specifying their number. Annotating is adding text to an image, so under my Annotate tab this will have all my dimensioning and other things that we'll use in the future, but I'm looking for balloon. If I click on here, let's start with the train body, and with the balloons I need to click on an edge. So I'll click on this edge. The first time it's going to say which assembly do you want to use as your source file, and it's already found my assembly for me, so I can click OK. Now I like to send these balloon points out at the same 30-degree angles that the other lines are, which isn't perfect, but if I click here, I can keep clicking to make it the lines at different angles, or I can right click and say continue to set it there where I clicked. And your number may be different than mine. This is based off of how you brought them into the assembly. So my train body was the first thing I brought in. It's part 1. And I am going to send a balloon number to every part. Now only unique parts. For example, this peg, there's 4 of them. I only need to balloon 1 of them, because then we can assume that any other part that looks the same is also part 2. The same thing with the wheel. I only need to do that one of the wheels. There's only 1 cow catcher. And with each of these, I click on the edge, I bring it out at the 30-degree angle, and then I click to set where I want it to be, and then right click and continue to set that in stone. I'll do one for this linkage arm. And if I hit escape, I can always change where these are later too, but I can't be in the balloon tool while I'm doing that. And I have the shapes in the back. And I'll keep doing that until I have all of the parts have balloons pointing to them. Now, what number does that reference? It references the parts list. And you'll see here, next to balloon, is parts list. If I click on that, once again I have to specify the assembly, and everything else for now we're going to leave as is. When I click OK, I have a box. This will be my parts list. I can put it in a corner maybe here. I don't have a lot of room. Maybe I'll put it in this corner here. And you can see that these numbers are the same as your balloon numbers. So I can say, well, part 3 is the linkage peg, which is one that I didn't actually do, so I can come back in here and do the balloon for this one now. But part 3 is the linkage peg. This is the name of the file, and this is the quantity. There's 4 linkage pegs. Now I can add a bunch of things to this parts list, and we'll do that later. I can add labels at the top so we know what each of those are. I can add my own information like material or footprint dimension. For now, that should be fine so that you're familiar with balloons in the parts list. So once you have that, make sure that you save this drawing file, this IDW file, in your same folder you've been saving everything else, all of your other train stuff. Make sure you save the IDW file, but also submit to me an exported JPEG. So come here to the I, choose export. For some reason it's coming to the other side, but image is the top option there. And save as type JPEG, and call this your class period, your last name, your first initial, and train, and submit this JPEG file to me through Drop It To Me. And that will allow me to see if everything's assembled correctly, then all of your dimensions were correct. I can see that you've done an exploded view and everything else that we'll need to complete this assignment.